Councilmember Best-Campbell.
Well, as I've done for the last 2 years and gotten a censure for, I'll be going to DC again because I also have relationships with our elected officials, and I don't just bring forward legislative agenda. I bring forward the passion of living in Woodinville and the people who live here. And the connections that I have made have been based on the people here and the things that they have asked us as a council to advocate for. And there's a myriad of things that this council advocates for that aren't necessarily spoken at the federal level or the local level. So I will spend, once again, my own money, and once again, I will tell you, and once again, you will censure me for doing my constitutionally protected right of advocating my government. I have contacts in DC, and I got us rail banked, and I made sure that we were part of the RAISE grant. I did as much work as anyone else, and I will continue to do it. I don't need the city to pay for it. And I think, once again, it is highly tone deaf to send an all-male delegation, including staff, to deal with an all-female delegation in Washington, D.C. It's the look that this council wants, telling the women what to do, yay! But why don't we have women involved? We've got 3 on the dais, but I guess none of us are good enough to get out of the city of Woodinville. We maybe can go to Olympia, but that's as far as we're allowed to go.
Any other discussion? Wow, I don't even know what to do with that. I think it's for the camera again is what she's speaking to. Going back to DC is a grueling 3-day process, and we orchestrate it very carefully with the federal lobbyists that we pay for and hire. We're not down there winging it. And yes, Councilmember Best-Campbell was censured for interfering in a complex legal process against the council's will.
Point of order, there was never any determination that there was interference.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Taylor.
I'd like to add an amendment to the motion to add Councilmember Best-Campbell to the party. So you have 3. Good. Is there a second?
Motion fails to lack of a second. Councilmember Best-Campbell.
Nothing in our code says I may not speak on behalf of Woodinville. It says I may not speak on anything that the council has not taken action on. So once again, we're back to the language. When I went before, I advocated for rail banking, and if I recall, we wanted rail banking. When I've gone before, I have followed exactly what our agenda is. Of course, the censure motion can be made up whatever it wants because it's a political motion and it's an election year, so God knows what I'm going to do in DC this time. Maybe I'm going to insult someone. Who knows what they're going to make up? The point being here, the important aspect of going to Washington, D.C. is advocating for the people. And I went and I advocated and I follow exactly what our rules are. And our rules specifically say I may not represent the city unless there is a formal representation of what it is we're advocating for. So were we advocating for rail banking? Yes. Were we advocating for East Rail money? Yes. Did I advocate for those things? Yes. Seems like there's not a problem here. I didn't second Councilmember Taylor's motion because I don't want the city to pay for me to go. We're already paying for too many people to go. I'll pay for it on my own nickel. What matters to me is that we are being heard, and the voice of the people is heard in a different way. What we hear is, well, this is very tense and very tiny, and we're gonna ask nice. Well, there are ways that you can be personable and human. And what I bring to the table is personable and human, and I have an excellent relationship with the elected officials that I have met in Washington, D.C. And whether or not this council agrees that I can go, they can't say I wasn't successful going. So I am not speaking to that camera, speaking to that camera, and I'm speaking to every other person in the room. So I ask you, Councilmember Millman, please advocate for the people, not for your own campaign.